participation. So Liquid's draft was a work of art.
Well, a work of art for them, but Battleground number 2 is on the way, and the Playing Ducks will have a chance to ruin that piece of art here. Take a paintbrush and just ruin it completely, with Towers of Doom being the packets. Team Liquid will be moving into that Battleground. The first pick will be going over to the Ducks.
I still don't know what I broke.
I don't think you broke either. I think you like dropped a monitor or something.
No, my monitors are still fine.
I don't know. It's okay. We'll get it figured out. We got top peeps. Can help
I should stop hitting the desk.
We're so passionate about that composition. I love area effect damage. It's so good.
It's not only that, it's everything came together here.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It was almost as if they were like straight up, okay, here is our sacrificial lamb. Do you guys want this? If so, we take your entire team out.
To be honest, this draft had so many things, so many little synergies that I'm actually, if Liquid was aware of every single one of them when they drafted this, that would have been fantastic, because you could definitely see that they are trying to draft a composition that has certain strong aspects. But a few of the things that came together here, I would not be surprised if they themselves said, oh yeah, we actually saw that in the draft, that works too. Because there's like 100 different things that came, it was perfect. Doesn't get any better than that.
That's for sure. And the thing is, too, is like if they're not together, we don't get all those benefits. If they do get isolated, or say we have a Malthael taking a lane by himself, there are moments where the Playing Ducks can get those picks and actually put themselves in a spot where they can actually fight against Liquid. They understood that being together was the best way for them to win and, of course, get a victory from there. So little things like that, man, always identifying in draft what your comp can do can definitely give you a nice leg up into getting a victory. Now let's go ahead and go into Towers of Doom, second battleground of the day for our teams.
I mean, one of the things, for example, that we saw in the last fight as well, just coming back before we have the bans here, they didn't even go for Stitches anymore, because they just said, yeah, he's going to get cooldown reduction, we can't kill him anyways in the burst, and then he's just going to go Devour and it's going to be fine. But as we have, before we fanboy Liquid too much here for their first draft, let's head into the second one, where the Ducks are getting rid of Illidan right away, and Team Liquid is banning out the Genji. So, 2 strong melee assassins taken off the board immediately. And we have now the pseudo-global taken away too. Illidan can play a huge role on Towers of Doom with Hunt later on in the game.
This does leave Oriole up, which she has become certainly first pick worthy for a lot of teams. Will the Ducks go down that route, or do they intend to continue picking up the Anubrak? They seem to have a little bit more of a lenience towards the Anubrak when they have the choice, but they decided to go ahead and grab Dahaka first.
So map control, trying to control the top lane in particular, get some extra value from the side soak and the experience, and Anubrak and Uther immediately being picked up by Team Liquid. A tried and true combo for the first picks here, if you can get them. As we said before, Uther has a 100% participation rate on HGC Europe. Anubrak is the second highest. I think it has around 98, 99%. If I remember correctly, there was one single game that we had where Anubrak was neither picked nor banned. So the two of them are definitely the most popular heroes here. Next to then Genji and of course other favorites that we see in the meta.
Greymane, Illidan, etc., etc. So, Uther and Anubrak will be the pickup here for Team Liquid. On the other side, the Playing Ducks having the Dahaka, so that means they will have their strong, nice rotation between him being in the top and the middle, can double soak. So from here, it's all about building out that 4-man. Do you want to focus on mercenary control, or do you want to be in a spot where you just try and push into your opponents on the bottom side and keep them in a reserved natural state? And usually, the second and third gives us a good indication of what they want to go into. With Oriole and Vala being up, strong possibility here for the Ducks. They're going into Malthael and Greymane, though. Surprising to see Oriole continue to go down.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Oriole is actually the 4th most picked or highest participation hero in HGC Europe at this point.
Yeah.
Higher than Greymane, higher than Illidan. So I think she's at roughly 80% at this point. So the supports in general have really, really spiked because of the double support meta that most teams are still using. We see teams starting to move away from it a little bit more often. It's not anymore that you have to play the double support. Fnatic has, of course, shown that before, but then again, their synergy is on another level here. But overall, supports are super high up in the European scene at this point. But as you say, Malthael picked and Greymane, so we have already a solo laner. And I'm curious to see how Liquid is now going to play around Malthael. Because now that I'm saying it, Dahaka is also picked by the Ducks. They have a lot that they can put onto that solo lane up at the top if they want to.
And Rhaegar and Oriole will be banned out here for our team, so we'll have to see what the Ducks want to move into for support later on. There are still options floating around. Anubrak Uther picked up, and you're right, it's all about that Malthael. How do you lock him down? One thing to do is you can try and force fights before Malthael rotates in. But with Dahaka being in this situation for the Ducks, it looks like Malthael actually might be a part of the 3 to 4 man that will be set up for the Ducks.
I'm also curious to see how Liquid now plays with supports, because we have them ban Rhaegar, and already Oriel has been banned out, so they could theoretically try and go into a double support as well. Malthael, of course, against them is going to make supporting a bit harder as is, but a double support for them would limit the playing Ducks option even more. Since with the draft that we are seeing, are the Ducks actually going to head into a Dehaka main tank? I don't really think that's their best shot here, so it can be expected that they want another support and a main tank. And there we have it, Tassadar taken. Malthael does nothing against the Tassadar. The shield still helps, of course, but it's not healing per se, so if he goes into Touch of Death on 7, it has no effect on Tassadar. But it will have a massive effect on Uther. So if you go for a double support combo, this is probably the best that you can use against Malthael.
I'm so curious as to what the Ducks are going to finish up with for their 4th and 5th pick. Getting another tank would probably be the route that I would go down to, get a nice little solo tank set up. Varian could work for an engage. Who am I missing in terms of tanks? Nubek's already up here. Stitches is still up and floating around, which is still great here. You don't really have the lockdown.
I mean, you can go into the
Malfurion?
Stitches if you want. If you especially get a Malfurion with this over a Kharazim, then you could have that lockdown here. The question, of course, is still, is the Malfurion really what you're looking for at this point? Burst heal would be something that you kind of want against what Team Liquid is already pulling off. But overall, I really think that draft is actually suffering at this point.
Well, let's figure it out. Do they have something under their sleeves here that I was not expecting? It's the Diva and the Malfurion.
Okay, so Malfurion is taken, and they go into Diva. So the problem with Diva at this point... Oh, Vikings get wrecked. That's good for Malthael in team fights.
Yeah. If the Vikings are together, though.
Yeah, I mean, normally the idea with the Vikings is that in the late game, you bring them into the battle. So in a late game fight, you want to flank with Olaf and his stun on the 16, so large and in charge. So once that happens, you have more bodies in the fight. And Vikings have a surprising amount of hit points, actually, especially later on. So Malthael can really capitalize on that and be strong here. But of course, the idea is with this draft not, hey, we're going to team fight all game long. It's more so Vikings are pushing lanes, are soaking experience, and are grabbing towers. And that's what they're looking for. Diva is even more interesting pickup, since the main Diva player in Europe is still Alex. And Alex has been talking about the changes to Diva a lot, where he said that normally the way, especially him, plays the hero is he wants to attack the opponent's hyper carry in the back and put the pressure on. But with the reduction of the hit point pool that Diva has, it makes it incredibly difficult for him to play that role. So it's a really interesting draft for the playing Ducks. I personally would say they are going to get completely wrecked by Team Liquid, but I already had the same sentiment once when they were playing on this map, where I was like, I don't really see the idea just yet, and they really surprised me. So it seems, from me looking at it, I would say they are really struggling against what Team Liquid has, but maybe that's a strategy where they are just saying, hey, we figured something out, we're going to show it now.
There's two sides of the coin here for Diva for me. First off, one, I don't think she really does much until level 13, when she gets that little spike where she gets the shield available to her, which makes it easier for her not to fall out of mech form, so she can be aggressive, as mentioned earlier. But there is only one hyper carry on the opposing team, Vala. If we can get Diva on top of her and bring out the advanced
dare
matrix,
you ignore Balog and Eric?
I thought Balog would be split pushing, to be fair. I didn't think he'd be in the fights. If he is in the fights, then yes, that is a major threat. And
so
I
disappointed
am
right now.
bad on that one. But if you do sit on top of the
You
Vala,
are supposed to be the snowflake here. Don't push me into that role.
he's a split pusher, man. That's what you gotta play him for.
He gets the Tassadar shield and the Divine shield. Balog goes ham.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. That's my bad. You know, I'm dropping the ball today on this Sunday.
We are switching roles here. I don't like it.
Let's go to game number 2, guys. Towers of Doom. Gonna watch Team Liquid and Balog hyper carry his way to victory over the playing Ducks.
Game on, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 2, battleground number 2. It is the Towers of Boom, as we have Team Liquid in the lead, and to the left it is the Ducks with Eternal, with Chris on Greymane, Eternal of Malthael. We have Wolfjaw on Malfurion. Really seeing Sport Billy on Dehaka, and playful as ever, Nanda on Diva up at the main.
To the right side in the red, we're going to have Blumby on a new Barak, Hostawabs on the Vikings, and we're going to have it being a treat for that one, as he loves playing his Vikings. Darkmok on Tassadar, Nurok on Vala, and Splendor playing Uther.
I'm hyped for the Vikings play for sure. I'm really curious to see what he can pull off here. And of course, Vikings into Malthael, that's also quite a statement for the late game. This really tells me that Team Liquid wants to get super far ahead early on. With the Vikings, you don't, especially against the global, you don't necessarily bank on you getting a 1 level, 2 level lead as you're heading into level 10. Oftentimes the Vikings unfold their power a bit later when we are really seeing them pressure lanes harder. Since in the early game, there's different ways on how you can play with the Vikings. You can say, I want to push the lane out, or you can simply say, hey, all I'm going to do for now is soak experience, and then we're going to play around it later on.
With being against the Dahaka, typically the latter of the two is good. Just to go ahead and sit back and float around, make sure to soak that experience for your team and wait for the altar phase to come in. Usually it's the 5th altar phase, the one that is the major threat for the Vikings, because they spread out and are able to grab them. In the early game, most teams can usually handle it and grab 2 of the altars, but we'll see how that occurs. So
here's one problem with the Vikings in general, or one of the things that you will run into when you play against them. First altar here, of course, triple altar, the 5th one as well. When you have a triple, the Vikings can spread. But if you have altars later on at the bottom of the map, you simply move Balog up to the top lane, because he's going to be the one that has the most pushing power. So the longer the fight lasts over the altar at the bottom or the middle of the map, the more time Balog has to push the lane out. In the early game, you don't really focus as much on pushing, but later on in the game, it's really the idea of clearing the lane, making sure that you deny your opponent experience, and ideally even take a bell tower. And that's what's going to be rough for the Ducks. In the early game, especially with their globals, they're still going to be absolutely fine in experience. It's the mid-game that is the most worrisome for them right now.
Yep, it certainly is. And right now, it's all about the mercenaries for both our camps on the right and the left side. I liked how Team Liquid did try to get a catch on Malthael. Good job there by Eternal getting away from the fight, though, and we're going to put 4 people in the bottom, work on this altar while Dahaka grabs the top. With that Brushtucker being here and available, the Vikings aren't going to even try to contest. We'll go ahead and put Balog back in the top, as you mentioned here. And at any point, Dahaka can rotate in for the fight.
Yeah, Dahaka could rotate him, but then would miss out on 2 lanes of experience. So the 4 versus 4 for now at the bot lane. Dahaka is soaking the mid, took down Eric. We see up to the top lane, Balog, as the fight down here still continues over the 3rd altar.
Nana taking damage, will use the Diva mech here to go ahead and explode. Won't hit anything except for a few minions on the right side. Lumby did go over and interrupt Wolfjo during the fight.
Yeah, they don't get the last interrupt, so it looks as if Playing Ducks will be able to get this one done. Olaf is down, Nande barely getting away, but the channel is completed as the Ducks are picking up the 2nd altar. But you can already tell that at the top lane, we're having Balog do a fair amount of work towards that gate, and that is experience that the Ducks are going to miss out on.
Yep, already working on that turret, and Blummy, hoping to keep this fight going, is chasing a 3rd on the left side. Gonna have to back up at some point, as Nurok decided to go ahead and put his attention towards Chris. And Chris will dance away, get behind the turret for the moment. We're going to continue pushing in, and 6 has hit for Team Liquid. So the experience game you keep alluding to is starting to come online. You see evidence of it right now if you look at the top.
And also the 4-man is really important with this. It's not only the push at the top, but we have a very strong 4-man for Team Liquid with a double support Vala, and this is what they are putting onto the field at the bot lane. So the Ducks are struggling against this a bit. They always are in a position where now all of a sudden structures are being taken down. Dahaka's in the middle, Malthael is rotated to the top. So it is a 4 versus 3 down here at the bottom of the map. And the Ducks are just losing additional structures. So Liquid is slowly getting ahead in experience. Nothing too crazy just yet, but this just adds up towards the later stages of the game, especially when you can drop the walls and have a direct shot at claiming a bell tower.
There's one of the things you can do with a 4-man rotation too when you have the Vikings. Control the mercenary camps. Get away, pushed out, grab the experience, especially if your Vikings are spread out to do a 1-1-1 instead of a 2-1. If you get them in each lane here, you just go ahead and go for the mercenary camps, be willing to evade, put as much pressure on the opponents as you can so your Vikings can do the work for you. Nande goes in, drops down the mech here, the self-destruct will go off, and the sappers will be grabbed by the Ducks.
So they get the Zappers here, and also every single Zapper camp they take is of course denying a Zapper camp to the Vikings with a bribe. Also, we have Broccoli taken on Malfurion on level 4, the Vengeful Roots going full for the Broccoli build. Nanda down here is in trouble and taken out. The mech explosion, well, of course, in this case, couldn't really help him. Malfurion also falling. This is getting from bad to worse as the Ducks are losing a 2nd hero and lose more and more control over the map. Team Liquid just getting farther and farther ahead in experience and putting amazing pressure on the bot lane. Also, they have now, with a Viking on the map, extra power on the Zappers thanks to the level 4 talent that we see for the Vikings, the Mercenary Lord. That alone allowed them to easily claim this one.
Gets the extra damage in on those bell towers, and it won't do anything to a core, but it's certainly great for breaking in those bell towers early so you get more shots here. And they got a total of 10 in that fight. Looking at the victory here, it's 32-26 as the Team Liquid will take a lead here, and they're at 9.5, almost towards 10, and they're setting up camp on the bottom, controlling this bell tower and forcing the Playing Ducks into this avenue where they have nowhere to anchor.
And the level 10 is, as you just said, it's going to be really rough. Also, in this case, we have Viking spread on all 3 lanes. Normally, you see Viking spread out between 2 lanes, but the extra Viking at the bottom of the map allows them to get the extra value out of those Zappers, as we just saw against the Bell Tower. So, Liquid is doing really well with this. And the Darks are trying to reclaim a tower to the top. They know that only Balog is there. Hazops is going to lose the Viking, but Bloomby started to rotate over, and we see Vala on her way now as well, just to make sure that they can force the fight here with Cocoon again.
10 here for Team Liquid. Can they make anything happen here? You mentioned the Vala coming up, but Eternal does escape. Low on health, but he gets away.
Nanda with the defense matrix here. That didn't really do a whole lot for him, but they are starting to get closer to 10 themselves now. It's still a bit rough what we're currently seeing here for them. Also, I want to highlight that with the heroes that have been chosen by Team Liquid, Malthael decided to not go into the Touch of Death on level 7, but instead went into the Cold Hand for the extra slow.
Cold Hand here allows him to continue chasing if he gets it on Vala in particular, and maybe they can keep them back there and negate the level 1 hot pursuit from them. Playing Ducks will be defending here on the bottom as one altar spawns in the middle, and with the Vikings already set up here in the bottom bell tower, it's not even close to being taken away from the Ducks. Them having to move in for this altar, we require them to go through the choke right above there, which if Team Liquid sets up in a good spot, they can control it. Also,
a really nice adjustment that we see on level 10 from Greymane. Chris, against the Vikings, and also not a super hit point heavy tank, went into go for the throat. That we see rarely these days, but it makes perfect sense given the heroes that he is facing to use the talent here over Curse Bullet.
Also gives you a chance to also burn down Tassadar if he ever uses Visual Shift early. Random Vengeance comes down, they look at Sport Billy to put damage on him, and they're just trying to buy time here while Malfurion tries to channel. But with a Viking coming on the side, Balog, the hyper carry that you mentioned, interrupts the fight.
Twilight Dream being used, here comes the explosion as everybody moves out. Bloomby dodges the damage, Nanda is still there. Stun not hitting for now. Vikings are still pushing in the meantime. We see the Bunny Hop coming out as Eternal tries to go in and get a kill. Bloomby is low, Vala already falling. Liquid is losing heroes left and right.
Malthael just goes through and destroys everyone with the Tormented Souls, but the Vala down as well as the Anubarak. Playing Ducks can make a play to grab this altar. Balog continues to harass on the side, and Splinter buying his own time here on the bottom right. But eventually the Ducks should be able to grab those shots, and they do. 3 siege upon Team Liquid and drop them down to 29.
I'm actually a little bit surprised that we did not see the Vikings switch between mid and top lane. Balog up at the top would have gotten way more value than Eric, so I would have expected Hazops to do that. Maybe it was a bit later in the rotation and therefore didn't do it, but him going to the top lane with Balog would have pressured the bell tower of the Ducks a lot more, and he could still have interrupted with Eric. Much better, actually, than with Balog himself, since Eric is just a little bit more on the faster side here.
I feel like he left Olaf down by that Bellator on the left side, and Eric couldn't quite get in there, and so maybe he brought Balog in just to have a little bit more control, because for the most part, Playing Ducks are doing a really good job of zoning out everyone on that right side. I couldn't believe they even finagled their way into that area, simply because the corridor on the left side was controlled so well by Team Liquid.
Yeah, but I still believe that if he would have thought about it and seen it, he would have put Balog to the top. It's one of those things, if you're controlling Vikings, you have to be all over the place, and sometimes you just miss out on that. He had the Vikings split on the lane, so that definitely worked for him. But in this case, it just didn't work the way he wanted to. One way or another, they have their 13, and we still see the top lane pressured. It's one of the things I want to quickly highlight about the Ducks. They always take away the top Zappa camp. I really like that. It's the lane that is most assaulted the entire time by Team Liquid, and the Viking push here. Balog is now up at the top, but with them taking the Zappa camp away over and over again, they pressure the lane, and they make sure that the Mercenary Lord on level 4 for Hazops' Vikings does not get as much value as it could get. So that's a really cool and important move by the Ducks.
And it's not a risky one either. You know that Team Liquid at least is going to have 3 people near each other. When you're running a hyper carry Vala, your supports are going to be next to her at all times for the most part. So them going for that Mercenary camp at the top isn't really a threat at all. A threat, though, for our teams is the Ultra spawning at the very bottom here with the Bell Tower taken away from Team Liquid on the left side. Playing Ducks actually have a place to come over here and contest the altar.
Yeah, the Ducks have now a pretty good spot if they win this one. This is 5 against 3 bell towers, and of course Balog is going to work at the top, but Dehaka is still, moves down now, and tries to get the drag, and does connect with Tassadar.
Connecting on Tassadar, getting him low. Defense Matrix goes forward as well as Nurok answers back with auto attacks.
Darkmark already straight for the Archon. Wolfjoy in the back, trying to channel.
He's got the channel, but Hasselhoff comes in. Will get the stop on him.
Mech Explosion already gone, and Olaf on the run, but up here we're seeing Vala confused, trying to get this kill in against Chris, who moves away in the Greymane.
Well, Nande's starting to get low on health, though, and he is a maintain. Can they get one more interrupt? Blumby's coming in, he charges for it, and with the Side Storm, they get it.
Dives deep, has off slow on Eric. Once again, the Twilight Dream being used here. Nande moving away, non-pilot anymore. Here comes the heal. Blumby is still alive.
Blumby gets dead, though, as he gets picked off with the Cocoon coming out. We're going to have a Therno, finally, with the Tormented Souls going straight forward, hoping for a fight.
It's a great Cocoon here by Nubarak against Eternal, but now we have Nande channeling again in pilot mode, and that's 5 shots fired against Team Liquid. They have still their Vikings on the map, but in this instant we are seeing the Ducks once again pulling slightly ahead here.
Yeah, Vala being the only damage here really for Team Liquid. It just isn't quite getting it done. Let's take a replay and go ahead and check out that fight here. So we have Blumby diving forward. He got the interrupt. Hasselhoff on the back left side did come in, but gets picked up by Eric. And look at Nurok. He's trying to deal with Nande, while all the damage is sitting on top of Blumby and focusing him down.
Was a fantastic Divine Shield that we had also here, by the way. Just really making sure that they shield the Nubarak. Even as the Twilight Dream is about to hit, he gets the Divine Shield. That really helped them there. And then after the Divine Shield was over, the drag that we saw from Dehaka was absolutely stellar. That was exactly what they needed. Sport Billy with great reaction here. And even though they started to keep an Nubarak alive for a long time with the shields, with the heals, it was simply not enough. If Blumby gets out of there, it's a completely different game, but as he falls, the Ducks have the momentum they need in the fight.
Well, we have a game on our hand, and both teams will hit 16 at the exact same time. Here in the plane, Ducks are in a great spot against the Vikings. Typically, if this was any other team besides Team Liquid, I would say the Plain Ducks are on a great road here to actually earn the victory no matter what. But you do have to worry with Team Liquid having the Vikings here. It is something that they have perfected at winning in the late game.
Now, let's not forget what I said earlier. We have now Largen in charge taken, and this is really where we see the Vikings going to just go into team fights as well. So they are going to look for those. The Cocoon on Malthael is important once he starts with the Tormented Souls for exactly that reason. Once the Vikings join the team fights, you need to make sure that Malthael does not just completely annihilate everything. But also I want to quickly point out that after we had the Vengeful Roots taken on level 4, Strangling Vines on level 7 came in as well. And on top of that, we have now the Tenacious Roots taken. So basically a full root build for Malfurion.
Blumby gets picked off and self-destruct here. He uses Cocoon, and Nurok hoping to get a kill on Nande. It's going to get taken out with the mech now popping up, and a Thermal with a Tormented Souls is diving into turrets looking for kills here. Nurok's answering back. He's getting shields, but still, Team Liquid has yet to get a kill.
Yeah, Nurok is so eager to get that kill. He slows Nande down, but he just is not able to connect with him. Balog at the top is working on the bell tower, and the channel is still there. Also with the roots, especially of course the Strangling Vines, the heal reduction is super important with this.
Vikings, though, trying to take on Sport Billy and crew with that large in a charge still being available. As you mentioned, they're able to slow him down. And finally, Team Liquid will be able to grab the bottom altar. Nope, Nande jumps into a mech and delays.
And the top bell tower hasn't been reclaimed. That's 5 shots fired. So we have 5 versus 3 bell towers still, and that's a massive problem. Eric is down, and Malthael is just shredding them. Nande doing a great job just boosting in the entire time and pushing Nurok into play. Great stun here, trying to make sure that there's no drag coming in, but the drag has hit. The root connects. Blumby wants to get out, has a shield, and simply walks away. Bell tower at the top has now been reclaimed, so it's 4 against 4, and the Ducks again with the channel attempt here in the middle.
This fight's duration has been so long that Blumby has died and came back for this altar. That's a good 35 seconds where he was in the death screen, and now we have everyone here once again fighting on the bottom. Drag comes out, it will hit Nurok, but Splinter brings out the heals.
Hazu has the bribe now up at the top. That's going to put pressure, and Eternal is low. Tries to move away here. Eternal barely getting out. Explosion does hit nothing, but zones at least for now, and still the bell tower active here, also the altar active in the middle, and Liquid is dancing around, but the top is being pressured hard now.
And Root comes out, Nurk will be locked out for the second. Chris dives in, but he gets locked down. Blumpy brings out the burrow charge. We have 3 people diving forward. The bunny hop slowing down Splinter. He's hoping to heal. Nurok is going to keep fighting here, but at the same time, we also have the Archon.
Twilight Dream has been used already. It's a kill on each side as Uther is down, but so are Malfurion and Dehaka. And Uther, as he fell, could of course still heal in the ghost form. And Greymane now dead too. Keep in mind, this is a 4 versus 5. We have the Vikings up at the top. Only Hazorps is trying to deliver a stun every now and then with Olaf down here. They get a quad kill. The top lane is pressured heavily, and so is now the bot lane. Liquid has gathered experience throughout the entire battle and is about to hit level 20.
That fight was a total duration of 1 minute and 40 seconds, it felt like, and the playing Ducks fall behind an experience as 20 is about to hit for Team Liquid. Crazy fight between our two teams, and it came to a point where the playing Ducks just had to make a decision to either go in or just give up that altar, and their decision was to go all in and try to force something, because the Vikings were definitely taking their toll.
Yeah, also for Team Liquid, losing Uther here was great, since he had already used all of his cooldowns. With Benediction, he had so many stuns and heals that he could push in, but once that he died and had the ghost form active, you have that cooldown reduction on the heals and can keep your allies alive. There was so much that the Ducks did here that was fantastic, especially on the side of Malfurion. The Twilight Dream was really strong, but Liquid came out ahead. And the longer the fight lasted, the better it was for Liquid as well, because they got value through the Vikings and now have this early level 20 with a 1.5 level lead over the Ducks that gives them their Storm talents.
Now, can they keep the playing Ducks in a place where they keep juggling out their bell towers? The one on the bottom is being taken back, but Team Liquid jumps on the bell tower in the middle. Does a 4-minute rotation to go to the top? It looks like they are heading towards the top here. In fact, they could probably start the boss. They see 3 people down here. No, 4 people on top of the bell tower on the bottom, and they will. They make the decision to grab the boss and get 4 extra shots.
Yeah, it's going to be an easy boss for them. There's no way for the Ducks to rotate fast enough. Liquid is currently at 19 points on their core, and the Ducks are at this point down to 12. They are still waiting for the level